Alright, listen, I know. It's been a while since the last time I uploaded a video, and even longer since I uploaded a Skate 3 video, but I have an excuse. Yeah, so apparently what happened was, and so then I started blaming him because then, and that's why I don't have a year 3 deck right now. But you know what? I'm not here to talk about that right now. What I'm here to talk about is Skate 3, and the limits of Skate 3, the possibilities that you can do within this game. For example, how you can only fit 3 objects into each other in Park Builder without having to do another glitch. Watch this video if you want to learn other park building tricks. Or how the max playtime within game is 145 hours and you cannot go past that. And I can guarantee you I have more than 145 hours on emulator alone. And as a quick disclaimer, I will be using the in-game measurements to judge the limits of what you can do in this game. And because I live in Burgerville, I do not use the metric system, I use the imperial system. And there's something weird about Skate 3's measurements where it doesn't perfectly convert imperial to metric and vice versa. Allow me to explain using my first example of height limits. Skate 3 has a difficulty setting, and with each difficulty setting comes their own limits and what you can do in the game. For the first comparison is the height that you can land falling to flat without a transition, and for easy, it is just over 43 feet. Anything higher than that, you will bail. And this is where the different uses of a measuring system, such as the metric system, comes into play. The max height I was able to land on the US version was 43.3 feet. When I tested this on the EU version using metric, the highest I was able to land was 14.4 meters. And last time I checked, 14.4 meters does not equal 43.3 feet. It was already clear that Skate 3 already had a measuring issue upon doing the first mission in Port Carverton. On the US version, you're supposed to follow Retta within a 300 feet distance. On the EU version, you're supposed to be within 100 meters. And there we go again. 100 meters does not equal 300 feet. What I'm trying to say is if you're trying to fact check my measurements, and if you are on the EU version, you will not be getting the same answers I got when converting into Imperial. Now with that disclaimer out of the way, let's continue on with the rest of the video. For normal difficulty, it is just over 19 feet. Now this is where it gets interesting, where there are some things that hardcore shares with normal, such as the height to fall to flat, because in hardcore, it is also just over 19 feet. It's also worth noting that for all difficulties, you could survive a longer distance to flat by walking off the ledge and then getting on your board at a specific moment. There's also more things to note when falling to flat. For example, grabbing your board. We all know that grabbing your board shrinks your legs upwards to just clear over something that you might have clipped on if you hadn't had grabbed your board. And that could be a difference from falling to flat. Coming to this ledge at library exit on the spot, if you were on normal or hardcore and roll off the ledge, you could survive the fall. If you were to low pop off the ledge, you can survive the fall. However, if you were to low pop and grab your board, you won't survive the fall. It's just that minute grabbing of your board which could increase the length that you drop at. Speaking about low popping, let's talk about the height at which you could pop your board at each difficulty. For every difficulty, all high pops are at the same height. For low popping, on easy, it is slightly just lower than a high pop. On normal, it is about a third of the height compared to a high pop. And for hardcore, it's practically non-existent, you're barely getting off the ground. There's even another height variable when doing a pop in a manual. For on easy mode, it's even slightly less than a low pop. On normal, it's the same thing. Now for hardcore, it's a bit different. We all know if you try to low pop some tricks, you just can't pull them off. For example, the 360 hard flip. However, if you were to do it in a manual, you can land it every try. Quite weird how that works. Switching back gears for a second, let's talk about the height you can land on transition for each difficulty. By coming to Mega Park and doing this jump transition, we can clearly see the height that I just got was higher than the height I was able to land from flat, thanks to the transition down below. So given these circumstances, wouldn't that mean that any height I get that is greater than the height to flat, I should be able to land if I go into this transition? And that would be a yes, but only for easy mode. Doing this on hardcore or normal, you could not survive the fall. This just means normal just has a harder time dealing with a vertical drop-in. Just doing the diving board transition is hard on normal just in general, but you can make it sometimes. But universally, all difficulties can land any height as long as you have the correct angle of which you land at. For example, here's me gapping across the Mega Park on hardcore. Getting another perspective, the peak of my height greatly exceeds 19 feet, so I shouldn't be able to land this, but I did because I landed in a transition. What I'm trying to say is that most of these big jumps can also be done on hardcore. It's not that hard. It's only really impressive if you land a big gap and you land a flat. Oh wait. Now let's talk about pushing, and how many pushes it takes to get to max push speed. For normal and hardcore, you need about 3 pushes to get to max push speed. For easy, it is 2 pushes. It is also worth noting that easy is the only difficulty where you can push up on your left stick to start pushing. It is also worth noting that on easy mode, holding up on your left stick after you're done pushing will maintain that speed. You will not lose speed as long as you're holding up on the left stick. Try to do that on any other difficulty and it won't work. Let's move on to magnetization. What I mean by that is the force that you get pulled to ledges and rails. If you stand still and are a certain distance away from a rail, you will not be magnetized even on easy difficulty. However, when you add movement, that's when the magnetization comes into play. And on easy and normal, both have the same strength when it comes to magnetizing you to a ledge or rail. For hardcore, that is completely removed. And I have already perfectly demonstrated what hardcore does to ledges and rails thanks to my hardcore let's play.
There's no way you don't beat it.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Dude, just give me the points. Give me the points. Doug, give me the points. 20 seconds. Doing flips in this game is pretty cool. But for all difficulties, and no matter how big the air is, you will always flip 1 time. But there is a way to trick the game in order to make you flip more than once. That only works on normal and hardcore. But for easy, you cannot go past 1.5 flip rotations, for it just won't let you go past it, and you'll just stay upside down. But it is worth noting that if you were to just tap the grab button as you're flipping on easy mode, you can finish that flip rotation. For normal and hardcore, if you were to let go of the grab button while upside down, you will bail. But let's say you're doing one of these double or triple flip rotations. If you were to let go of the grab as soon as you come right side up again, the flip rotation would stall, and then grabbing the board back would continue more of the flip rotation. I'm gonna dive deeper into body flip rotations. It is all known that you could flip on flat on easy, but for normal and hardcore, not so much. The lowest you can go to complete 1 flip rotation on normal or hardcore is about 4 street pads, but that's only in a front flip cork. Doing a straight back flip or a straight front flip, you cannot complete the flip. If you stack 5 pads on top, you can complete a front flip, but for some reason you can't complete a back flip. It isn't until you stack 6 pads on top of each other where you can complete 1 full rotation doing a straight back flip. We could even dive even deeper to see what it takes to flip on easy. If I high pop a nollie, I could flip. If I low pop a nollie, I can flip. If I high pop an ollie, I can't flip. But if I low pop a heel flip, I could flip? As it turns out, there are some tricks you can't do in order to flip on flat without some assistance. And the tricks that you can use to flip on flat is everything in a nollie form. But for the ollie tricks, they're much more picky. So here are the tricks that you can't use to flip on flat. It's an ollie, a 360 hard flip, a kick flip, a varial kick flip, a backside shove it, and a 360 inward without the 360. I'm really trying to avoid another guideline strike, man. I'm doing my best, okay? I have now talked about everything that the difficulties have differences between each other. From here on out, everything I talk about is universal regardless of difficulty. What I would like to focus on is the max height you can get going up a vert ramp. And that height happens to be 80 feet. If you go higher than 80 feet, you will be guaranteed not to ever touch the ground because you will reset. Speaking about resets, we all know about the dreaded built-in air timer. The one thing that is stopping us to landing farther gaps in this game. So by using the inbuilt Sony Vegas timer, we could see that you only get 5 seconds of airtime before you reset. And honestly, I don't even know why this is part of the game. However, did you know that Skate 3 does count your airtime? By using mods and removing the air timer, we can clearly see that it shows your time. It just doesn't show on your screen until you reach 7 seconds of airtime, which is quite weird. Another thing that you could do with all this air that you have is spinning. And so far in game, the max spin rotation you can get is a 1260. Yes, you can land a 1440 by abusing this 180 glitch. But however, no matter how high you go, the max rotation you can get is a 1260. Even using a no air timer mod, we still can't get past it. That is, until we found a new method, of getting more spins. The BS to mute glitch is another glitch that you could use to gain an extra 180, even though you didn't do that extra 180. The flaw to that is that you can't do it multiple times and trick the game that you are still doing more than one 180. And that is where this new method comes in. By putting your style into aggressive and start spamming rocket airs in a specific way, you can actually stack these extra 180s and get more than a 1440 rotation. This is a relatively new glitch, and it's kinda hard to pull off. Now let's stop talking about what's possible on board and see what's possible off board. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning with the how far you could fall to flat without bailing. And for off board, the lowest I was able to get is 22.6 once I bailed. Anything lower than that, I was able to land on flat ground perfectly fine. Next, we can judge how far we could jump while running. By taking this large block, turning it on its side, when we drop, we get a measurement of around 17.5 feet. So, by running and jumping that distance of the block, we were able to see that our skater can jump at least 17.5 feet. I know I just talked about how far you could fall to flat without bailing, but I have another question, which is how long it takes you to fall before you go into a bail animation. And to test this, I fell off all 3 levels of Park and Play. My only reasoning behind this is, what if the time to trigger the bail was greater based on the distance you were from the ground? So, for the first story, I got 1.6 seconds. And for the second story, 1.8 seconds. And lastly, for the third one, another 1.8, meaning that there is a slight difference in height, but not that much. Since we're off our board, what is the one thing you do when being off your board? You run. And in Skate 3, there is a limit to how far you can run before your skater gets exhausted. However, there is a trick to run infinitely. By tapping the run button every other second, you can run forever and never stop.
Why are you running? Are you doing this for world peace?
Are you doing this for the homeless?
Are you running for women's rights?
Or for the environment?
Or for animals?
They just couldn't believe that somebody would do all that running for no particular reason.
Why are you doing this?
I just felt like running.
It is known you can run faster than running speed if you happen to run down the huge wall at Megapark. Well, did you know that there was a speed cap for that as well? By turning on Hall of Meat mode, we can measure how fast we go before we bail. By using the cannonball speed glitch to then ollie and get off my board, I can maintain a certain level of speed without bailing. But if I were to go faster, eventually I will bail. The lowest speed I got was 46.7, so I'm guessing the limit is 45. Foot plants and no complies also have a speed limit. There's one thing to know about both of these things is that if you don't have enough speed, you will not get as much air. Therefore, getting more speed will equal more air. For no complies, the slowest speed I got right before bailing was just under 34 miles an hour. For foot plants, the fastest I was able to go was 35.4 miles an hour. Now what about hippie jump speed? We have the no comply, the foot plants, and getting off your board. You would assume that the hippie jump speed would probably be slower than that, right? No. Actually, it is the fastest you can go before bailing. And using the power of the backwards man, that's how fast it has to go. The fastest I ever got before bailing was 76 miles an hour because he couldn't get back on his board. Now, for the last off-board mechanic, bailing. When bailing, you have an unlimited timer. Granted, because getting 1,000,000 Hall of Meat points wouldn't be possible if there was. But just like onboard, there is a air timer to bailing. Normally, if you would play this game without any glitches, you wouldn't reach this limit. However, if you happen to fall through the void, you will know that you can only fall for 20 seconds. That's right, there's even an air timer for bailing. Why is this here? Alright, now, I have a little story for y'all. Back in 2014, where all I did was gaps, I was eyeing up this one gap at Megapark where I launch off of this ramp and try to air up to this street. Well, my flaw was I started at the bottom of the ramp, for that didn't give me enough speed, and I just gave up there. It wasn't until years later where Skate 3 Tommy came around and did this. That's all I had to do? Are you kidding me? I could have had this like 8 years ago. You see, at the time, I didn't know that slopes can affect your speed glitches. If you were to do a speed glitch on a slope, you will get more speed. That's just how the game works. So, since Tommy did it, I thought I could do it too. Now, I positioned myself where he was, and tried it, and tried it, and tried it, and tried it, and I never stuck the landing. I came up short every time. Either that, or I would be constantly resetting each time. It happened so much that eventually I just gave up. I thought he just got really lucky. Nope! Other people are doing it too! What am I missing? Why can't I do that? I was the gap guy like 8 years ago. Why can't I do this? It wasn't until a year or so later where I discovered what I was doing so wrong. You see, since 2014, I happened to start playing more comp than doing trick lining or gapping. And when doing comp, preferably you would like to have your posture on straight rather than default or hunched. So all I did was change my posture to default and went back to Mega Park. And guess what happened next? Really? That's all it took. There's no way it was that simple. What could this possibly mean? Alright, so check this out. I have the air timer mod, meaning I can go past the 5-second air limit. So, if I were to place a ramp here and launch myself off this cliff, I should not get reset, right? What just happened? I just got reset. That was faster than 5 seconds. What does this mean? What this means is that there is a speed cap limit too. Yes, not only is there an air limit, for falling, but there's also a speed limit while being on board. You ever have those backwards spans where you do a backwards span and then you quickly reset? Like, did your character just clip it to the ground and so Skate 3 just puts you back on your feet? No. What you did was hit the speed limit instantly. And that's what was happening to me when I was trying to do the backwards span at Mega Park. That means posture can also affect speed glitches. I already knew that it could affect speed glitches based off the forward span compared to how much speed you get in straight to what you get in hunched. When being in straight, you get the fastest out of the backwards span. And here, look, this is me doing a backwards span and then doing an ollie to get off my board to see how fast I actually was going thanks to the Hollow Meat stats. When being in default, the max speed I was able to get was 105 miles an hour. While I was in straight, the max speed I was able to get was 116 miles an hour. So now, I have a mod which removes the speed cap. So here's me hitting a backwards span on straight, and look how fast I can get. That's all cool and all, but let's see what would happen if I didn't have the speed cap in the first place when doing that first Mega Park gap.
And beyond!
How did I not land that? And also, why is there limitations in this game? This game would be so much better! Alright, that's pretty cool. Now, let's go back to this cliff and see how far we can actually launch ourselves, now that I have no air timer and no speed cap. This is Skate 3 without limits. What? I landed that? There's no way. Wait, where did I land? Where did I land? That's right. If you happen to land a gap at any height and you are going faster than the speed limit, fall damage just ends up not existing. I promise you, when I did this launch, I didn't have a no fall mod on. I just had no air timer and no speed cap. And this is the side effects to modding the game. Which leads me to promote my next video I have in the works, is all the side effects that happens when you break Skate 3 with mods. So come back next time and you see all the weirdness that will happen when applying mods to this game. Thanks for watching.